Hey everyone! So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to do a tubular cast on. This is how it will end up looking after you do the actual cast on and then the 2 setup rounds. And I have this on here because I have to work 2 identical halves to be the hem of my sweater, and then I attach them once they're both completed. So rather than doing one and then doing the other, I'm doing them both on the same needle. That way I can just continue to work back and forth on both, and it will be a little bit faster for me. I am kind of new to tubular cast on, so I do not know if there are other ways to do this. I do know that this is a long tail tubular cast on, so I work it the same as I would with a normal long tail cast on, where I wrap 10 stitches and then I use that length to count out as many times as I need. So 10 times, and then I slide that off, and then I grab the same length, and I have to do 131 stitches, so I do this 13 times. Then I take away just a tiny bit, because with sweaters, when you're casting on that many stitches, I find that it ends up leaving you a super long extra tail. I do take away a few inches from the length that I create. So I've done 13, which leaves me about here. So like I said, I'm going to take away some of that length, and I'm going to go about here because I don't want a massive extra tail. And then what you'll do, just crisscross it around, and then I reach through the loop and grab my tail and pull it in. That is called a slip knot. And you can pull it down to tighten it up on your needle. This is going to count as our first stitch. So since I'm doing 1 by 1 rib, it's going to be knit, purl, knit, purl. To start out, you're going to have your tail on the top and your ball end on the bottom. You're going to put your thumb and your index finger through the middle of the yarn like this, and I like to grab it with these fingers down here when I do that to kind of tension it, and it's going to create a little slingshot. So you put your fingers in between, grab it, and you got it right there. It's kind of like a long tail cast on when you're doing this, except you leave your fingers facing down. So for the knit, I think of it as a knit comes first, so I go under the first strand. So for knit, you go under and then over and then twist under both. And that creates a little stitch that looks like a knit. But since I already have a knit here, I'm going to do a purl. So purl comes second. So I know I need to go under the top one first, which is the second one. I'm going to go under it, and then I'm going to go over the knit, and then I'm going to go under both of them. And that creates a little purl bump. So we're going to do knit, which is the first one. So go under, over, and then swoop under both of them. And then that creates a knit stitch. What I like to do is I will hold my index finger on top of these stitches because it does help keep them from twisting as much. So now we're to a purl. So we're going to go under the second one, over the first one, and then swoop around underneath both. For the knit, go under the first, over the second, and swoop under both. So it's over, under, swoop. That's how I remember. So now if you lose track of where you're at, you'll see here the knit ones are more open like this. And just like with a purl stitch, it has a little cross in the front, or a purl bump. So now I have 6 stitches cast on. I'm going to do a few more on camera, and then I'll finish up so I can show you how to do the setup round. Under, over, swoop, under, over, swoop, under, over, swoop, under, over, swoop. And I like to use my hand to kind of maneuver because I find that easier. I'm gonna do 4 more and then I will finish off of camera. So see here, I have a little purl bump there. So I know I need to do a knit. So knit comes first. So we're going to go under, over, and swoop. Under, over, swoop. Hopefully you understood that. And I'm going to finish casting these on and then show you how to do the setup rows. Now that I have my 131 cast on, I do not want to lose this stitch here because it is loose. So what I will do is I will twist this yarn a few times around just to hold it. Now you will turn your work around. Then you want to make sure you move your tail yarn because you do not want to work with it. I've done it before and it's extremely frustrating to get to the end of the row and realize that you use the tail to work with and have to start all over again with the whole process. So since my particular pattern ended in a knit stitch, I'm going to slip this first stitch. And then I will knit the next stitch through the back loop because it is twisted and I want to make it right side. So knit through the back loop. And then you're going to repeat that all the way across, slipping with the yarn in the front and knitting through the back. So slip with the yarn in front, knit through the back. And sometimes your stitches are going to end up twisted around. And it is a little bit difficult when you first get started learning how they need to be situated. But if you just look at them closely, you will see which one is the top, and you'll know that these little bumps here have to be on the bottom. I don't usually straighten these all out because it can get kind of confusing. As I go, I just straighten them out. So continue across, slipping with the yarn in front for the purl stitches, and then knitting through the back loop for the knit stitches. And then you'll turn your work. I've reached the end of this first setup round, and now I'm going to turn my work around and work the other side. There's 2 setup rounds after you cast on the stitches. So on this one, you will see I have knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. So I'm starting with the knit. So on this row, we do not want to knit through the back loop because our stitches have been situated properly now. So we will just knit normally. And you want to kind of pull that one slightly tight because you don't want your edge stitches to be wonky. Oh my, I almost purled that stitch. So after you knit, you're going to do the same where you slip with the yarn in the front. So knit, slip with the yarn in the front, knit, slip with the yarn in the front. Anytime that a pattern tells you to slip a stitch and it does not specify whether you're doing it purl-wise or knit-wise, you will slip it purl-wise. Stick your needle into the stitch as if you're going to purl it and slip it off. And you want to always make sure that your yarn is in the front because we're basically recreating a purl stitch which has a little line in the front. Continue this down until you reach the end, and then if you are going to be joining in the round, at that point you will make sure your working yarn is on the right hand side and you will just start knitting into the next stitches. If you are following a pattern where you do not join in the round like mine, then you will just turn your work and work down the other side again. The other tip that I have, you slip your stitch, and then I like to knit my knit stitch kind of tightly because if you do not, your knit stitch is going to be a little loose and it's not going to look as pretty and neat on the bottom. So if you look up tubular ribbing versus regular 1x1 ribbing, there are a lot of pictures showing the difference and how pretty the tubular cast on is. It makes it look like your ribbing is just coming out of nowhere. You don't have the harsh line like you would with a regular long tail cast on. Now that I've finished this side, I'm going to move this ball of yarn out of the way and I'm going to set this one over here so that I can show you how I work these both at the same time. So both of these sides have the cast on and the 2 setup rounds done. And it's just like doing magic loop, except you're not knitting in the round. I'm going to knit down these stitches using this ball of yarn. When I reach the end, I'm going to drop that get rid of it all together. And then I'm going to work down this row along this side. Get down here. Then I'm going to turn my work around and I'm going to work down the other side on both of them. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a little weird, but I will take any shortcut that I can take. Love you guys. Hope this helped you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.